Hajj, the Islamic pilgrimage to Mecca, is the largest gathering of Muslim people in the world. Due to the coronavirus, the 2020 Hajj pilgrimage has been drastically downsized. On the occasion of the Hajj, we talked with Imam Fajri Ansari about his own pilgrimage. Very pleased to welcome my good friend Fajri Ansari, who's an imam at Masjid Numan here, and also the basketball coach at Buff State.
Yes, thanks for having me, Stan.
It's good to see you and to say last year you had an opportunity of a lifetime to take the pilgrimage to the Hajj.
Yes, it was a wonderful and very rewarding and challenging experience. You know, my wife and I went for our first time. This is one of the 5 pillars of faith in Islam, you know, the belief in the one God, and make prayers 5 times a day and give acts of charity, fast during the blessed month of Ramadan, and if you can afford to do so at least once in life, you'd make the pilgrimage to Mecca. So it's really a personal invitation from God, or we say Allah, to each and every individual.
Well, what is Hajj?
Well, Hajj is, it really is more about the sacrifice of Prophet Abraham and his son Ishmael, and their willingness to be completely obedient to God and willing to sacrifice his son. So as we know the story, because of their passing of the test, and you would offer the lamb instead of sacrificing his son. And this is one of the rites of the pilgrimage of Hajj. So Hajj is really more about that sacrifice and the unity of mankind or the human family.
And why the city of Mecca?
Well, Mecca, Hajj is where we call the Kaaba, which is a Arabic term for cube. But this was the first house of worship that was built again by Prophet Abraham and his son Ishmael. And this is a place where Muslims come from all corners of the world together to perform the rites of Hajj, pilgrimage.
Well, I want to have you take us through some of this. It was 2018
Yes.
that you went, and you tell me that you were actually on a kind of tour package that they have.
Yes, there's many group tours from, again, all parts of the world. We went with a group that's very famous for Dar es Salaam, who's been doing this for decades, and they're very experienced, which is helpful because you have people there who can walk you through the things that you're going through. But nevertheless, it's very challenging because we're dealing with mass number of people, you know, millions of people all coming.
It'd be very difficult to try to do on your own.
Right.
So, you flew out of New York?
Flew out of JFK. We stopped over in Turkey, and then we continued on and went to, first we traveled to Medina, which is the holy city where the Prophet's mosque is at. And we spent some days there, which is very beautiful. This is a place that's very peaceful, and it's the largest mosque in the world. So it helps you to kind of get prepared for the pilgrimage with the crowds and the number of people, and seeing the faces, even though no one can travel to every place in the world they would like to, but it's seeing as if you see faces from all parts of the world.
Now, again, you and your wife were able to travel together and to Medina.
Yes.
And to share all of the time in Medina.
Yes. Well, it's not a vacation, so it wasn't
Right.
just us together. You know, we're traveling, then there's other brothers, there's other sisters, you know, people, you kind of bond together with your group, you know, and even then within the group, you know, with all parts of the states and different background. We were with people from various professional backgrounds and you know, different walks of life, and but we're bonding together. and you meet other people from other groups, as much as you can. But you're on a kind of a schedule, a tight schedule. It's not as much leisure time as you would like, but there is time to reflect. And we visited some of the noted places, again, the Prophet's Mosque, some of the first places where the Mosque of Quba, the first mosque that was built, and the Mosque Qiblatain, where the mosque before the revelation came, Muslims first were praying towards Jerusalem, and then the revelation in the Quran saying to turn towards the east of Mecca. And so there's a mosque where that actually took place. So we were able to visit some of those holy sites before we went to Mecca.
So you went from Medina, then to a couple of the other stops to Mecca.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And what was the experience of arriving there? I'm sure people from all over the world were coming in and so forth.
Well, first we went to, we did what is what's called Umrah. Umrah is where you follow the rites of a Hajj, but it's not actually the time for the actual Hajj itself. So we were able to go to see the Kaaba for the first time. And traditionally, whenever you enter into a mosque, you ought to make 2 prostrations, praying in respect to the mosque that you attend. However, when you come into the Kaaba, the masjid, you have to circumambulate the mosque 7 times around.
Sort of counterclockwise.
Right. So we walk around. We did that, and then there's other rites that we also follow in the footsteps of Abraham's wife, Hagar, who again went to the desert, had her son Ishmael, and she was panicking because she couldn't find water for her son, so she was running back and forth in the valley 7 times, and then when she came back and found Ishmael, the well had sprung up from his feet, and that's called the well of Zamzam, which is still running to this day.
So that's the reason for the 7 times.
Right. So it's 7 times to circle the Kaaba, but then there's another walk that you have to do in her footsteps, which is 7 times. So you have to kind of be in a little shape if you plan to go.
Well, for you as basketball coach, that's probably not a big issue.
Well, we've seen people all age, mostly adults. It was just a few, not many children, understandably. But there were really seniors and people, some with wheelchairs and canes. They determined to fulfill, and very inspiring to see the faith.
So you did the Ummah before the official beginning of the Hajj.
Right.
Then talk to us a little bit of that experience of actually being in the Hajj, that huge numbers of people.
Yeah, when I will never forget, because we came in on the there's 3 tiers. There's the ground level, then there's another, then there's actually the roof. So the first time we went, and again, mind you have to have a lot of patience. You have to have a lot of patience, and you have to stay focused on this is your personal invitation from God or Allah to come to make the Hajj. And you want to try to come to atone your sins and stay focused and keep in the right spirit. Now, mind you, you're doing that where masses of people and different languages, and so the only way that you can have cooperation in doing that is people staying focused on that task. When I came in at first, it felt almost something like entering into like a motion movie, thing. It's just the crowd and the atmosphere, so it kind of just hits you. It's kind of hard to describe without seeing it. And you're supposed to, again, start your walk, and so we're waiting with the group, and then you start your circling. Then after you finish, if you find a space, then you make your 2 prostrations. But sometimes there's no room. You may just have to do it standing up.
Well, then, how long were you at that actual location on a day, would you say? It
seemed almost like to do 7 circles, it seemed at least an hour or so just to get around, because you're not really moving that quickly. The closer you get into the Kaaba, the more dense. So we learned, the first day you're excited, everybody want to get there, and sometimes they want to reach out and try to touch the stone, because this is the black stone, that's story, the meteorite that fell from the sky, and that became the cornerstone with the whole mosque built. So some people want to try their best to get to touch the stone. So as you get closer, it gets a little more congested, a little pushed, so you have to be tight and firm. But if you stay around the outside of the circle, we found you can move a little more comfortably.
Well, as we come to the end, I'm interested to know what kind of major impact that's had on your own spiritual life.
Well, it still, to me, is unveiling itself. I reflect on it. When you're there and coming back, it's just a huge adjustment that you have to make because the spirit there and the atmosphere is just so different. But I don't think anyone really be the same. To get a chance to go back, because hopefully in another year I'll have another chance to go back, because then you think about the things you could have done.
Thank you, Imam Fajri Ansari, for sharing your venture to the Hajj.
Thank you, Sam, for having us.